Dear friends, the Holy Mother Church today celebrates the solemnity of all saints. The church honors the countless unknown and uncanonized men and women who today enjoy the glory of heaven. They are the church triumphant. And now the theme of our reflection this week would be, you too can be a saint. You and I can become saints only by faithful witnessing to the gospel. Christ in the gospel of today ascended the mountain as the new Moses to give us guidelines and regulations towards attaining this blessedness. You too can become a saint. Now, in the first reading from the book of Revelation, chapter 7, we see two visions. The first vision, which is a chosen people sealed on their foreheads. These chosen people who have been sealed are faithful people of God, who have been chosen and sealed as special candidates of heaven. And then again, the second vision sees 144 number of people sealed. Now, this 144,000 of people corresponds to the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12,000 corresponds to 12,000 people from the 12 tribes of Israel. But then, thereafter, a countless number of people were found in humble reverence before God, praising and worshiping God, which signifies the universality of this call to sainthood. The universality of this call to a chosen people of God. Dear friends, in the second reading, we see from the first letter of St. John, John continuously reminding his audience of this privilege of being called the people of God. A privilege that, enjoying it, we must set our feet in the right place so as to climb and ascend as chosen people, sealed as special people of God. Now, how do we respond to God? St. John says that by nature we are creatures of God, but by the grace of God we are children of God. And then what is demanded of us is faithful response to this grace of God. But then, how do we respond to this grace of God? St. John, in the Old Testament, God took the initiative of approaching the Israelites and making a covenant with them. But as part of the covenant, the people of Israel were to keep his law so as to solidify or confirm their sonship before God. And then in the New Testament, God took the initiative of approaching us and then granting us grace. But then our own response is to put into actions our Christian values, put into actions our Christian discipline. And by doing that, we are responding faithfully and positively to the grace God has given to us. In the gospel reading, now, our response to this grace of God, Christ ascended the mountain as the new Moses to give us new guidelines. These guidelines he has given us that will help us attain this blessedness. This blessedness is not a happiness of what will be in future, but something here and now. Not what Christians hope to, a pious hope of what will come in the future, but what Christians are already into. For when we become people of God, when we faithfully and positively do the will of God, we will enjoy this eternity, this happiness of eternity, a happiness that has no end. And now this blessedness is what this has its Greek roots, makarios. This blessedness is not the human blessedness which life brings and can take at the same time, but it is a divine blessedness, a blessedness that endures in eternity, a blessedness that we enjoy with God, which finds its fulfillment and its consummation in the presence of God. And dear friends, this blessedness, God has given us this blessing. He has chosen to give us this blessing so as to help us prepare for the glory of heaven. Blessed are those who are pure in heart, those who put their trust in God, those who in humble reverence recognize their ignorance and their weakness, those who hunger for complete righteousness, those who put themselves in the shoes of the people of God so as to understand them, those who by their lifestyle put God first in everything before everything. And so these are the men who will enjoy the glory of heaven. These are the men, like in the first reading, who are chosen and who by their faithfulness in doing their Christian deeds will be sealed and made special people so as to enjoy this sainthood. Dear friends, there are a lot of lessons we need to learn from the readings of today and in the solemnity the church is celebrating today. First of all, in the Sermon of the Mount, Christ has given us a maxim. He has come to bless us and has given us a maxim of happiness and blessedness. Though we seek this happiness wrongfully from elsewhere, but then He has come to give us the ideal, the maxim which when we follow them, we will attain this glory of heaven. And that is the sermon which He has given us. And so, dear friends, we need to be steadfast in our faith. We need to be prayerful, for when we come to God always, He is the answer of our prayer. And then again, Christ invites us to come to Him, all who are labored and overburdened. Come to Him that He will make His law into our hearts, and these laws into our hearts will help prepare us for the glory of heaven. We should come to Him. We should not fail to come to Him, though we are sinners, though we wrong our neighbors, but then He's always open-handed to accept us as His children. And when we become faithful to Him, we will enjoy this glory of heaven. Now, Teresa of Avila invites us that we should always recharge our spiritual batteries. And when we recharge them, we will always put ourselves in the positions of the chosen people who will be sealed as special people of God. And so St. Teresa of Lisieux says, we should always convert our actions as Christians. Where we walk, where we go to school, and all we do, convert every action of yours as a Christian into prayers and then present them to God. For God, who knows our innermost heart, will purify them and then makes us viable and members of His family so as to enjoy this glory of heaven. Then St. Teresa of Calcutta says, when we do everything in love, when we put love first, when we put God first in all we do, doing everything in love, we shall be children of God and members enjoying the benefits of the kingdom of God. May the good Lord continue to bless us as we make efforts to do His will. May He continue to bless us so that in the end we will enjoy this blessedness that endures in eternity with God, in the presence of God.